Oh, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. So my name is Nikki Kimball. I'm one of the educational consultants here at Just2easy, and you are here for developing numeracy skills using the Just2easy tool suite. And this week we're going to be focusing on covering early years and Key Stage 1. So hopefully we'll cover quite a lot of content. As always, I have overplanned. If you've been to any of my trainings before, you'll know that I'm a bit of an over planner. Better to overplan than underplan, let's face it. So it is a 45-minute session. So I'm going to try and be strict with myself and finish at 4:15. Questions can be asked as we go along. So I have checked my chat is working. So thank you to those of you that wrote in the chat so I could check. So any questions as we go along, please feel free to write them in the chat, and I do have it open on my second screen, so I will intermittently look over and just check if we've had any questions and answer them as we go along. As always, I'm going to do a Q&A session at the end of the training as well, so you can put me on the spot and ask me anything. Doesn't have to be anything we've covered today. Can be just 2easy questions in general. The session is being recorded and it will be hosted on YouTube under our webinars 2024 to 25 playlist, and I will give you some more details on how you can access that a bit later. Now, in today's session, I've had a bit of a rejig of this session since the last time I delivered it. So we're going to have a look at why we should use digital tools to support numeracy skills. And which Just2easy tools you can use to support numeracy in your classroom. And as part of that, I'm going to do a bit of a showcase of the tools and activity examples, so give you some ideas for quick wins that you can use in your classroom starting from tomorrow morning. And we're going to look very much at JIT. So JIT is our Just2easy infant toolkit, so it is ideal for your early years and Key Stage 1 students. And we're going to start with Pictogram, which is kind of our easiest and would tie in quite nicely with the early years curriculum. And then we're going to go on to JIT Chart and JIT Turtle. So I included JIT Turtle. I know it's coding, but it's brilliant for your directional language, numbers, predictions, logical reasoning. So we're going to have a quick look at that. We're also going to look at TT and SATS Blast. So SATS Blast is our Maths Blast. I am trying to get them to rename it to Maths Blast. So I'll showcase that to you. And I'm also going to show you how to import existing worksheets using J2 PDF and using measuring tools in, oh, I haven't changed that, in J2E5. The new name is J2 Create. So that was renamed in August. So tut for me not double checking this presentation. And then I'm going to do a resource library activity showcase. So I know those of you that are joining us from early years probably thinking a lot of this isn't appropriate. I have included a lot of early years resource library activities. So please hang around for that showcase, and I'll give you some good ideas of activities that you can use with your students. And then a Q&A session. So as always, loads to get through. Now, in terms of accessing Just2easy, I know we have, I've looked at the registration list. There's a lot of you joining us from Northern Ireland, some Welsh and some Scottish. So you can access Just2easy via any device anywhere. We are a cloud-based system, so you can use your login to log in on any device. Now, if you're going through C2K, we are in the My School area, so you can find us in the View All area under the Online Learning tab. The same goes for Hub and Glow. We're in the launch pad for both of those. Alternatively, you can go to j2e.com and you can click on the appropriate icon. So RM Unify, that's actually been changed to Glow recently. So if you are joining us from a Scottish school, you can click on that and use your Glow credentials to log in. Hub, you can use your Hub credentials by clicking on this button. And C2K, so my Northern Irish colleagues, you can click on this EA button and use your C2K credentials to log in. So that's how you're going to get onto the site. Very important. If you have any issues with access, please just drop us an email and we'll be able to sort that out for you. Now, just a quick discussion about why we should use digital tools to develop numeracy. So I just did this mind map. I'm a visual learner. Um, Digital tools can provide an individualized environment with personalized levels of support and scaffolding. So within our tools, we allow you to set up things like teaching groups. Now, I'm not going to show you how to do that today, but there is a video on our YouTube channel, which then allows you to differentiate certain activities, offering that personalized level of focus and activity and scaffolding should they need it. Okay. Um, you can incorporate a range of different modalities, and the children can use a range of different modalities to demonstrate their learning and understanding. So children can record their answers, they can write their answers, they can draw their answers. You can provide different modes of examples. So you can, give them videos and photos. So it really is quite a broad range of modalities that we offer. It allows you as a teacher to provide better and more structured feedback. So through the pupil files, so when a pupil saves their content into their own My Files, you as a teacher can access that through the pupil files area. And there is the learning conversations button. So that's a little speech bubble above every piece of work. And you can offer some structured feedback for your students. So that's really important, obviously the feedback aspect. The use of technology helps to reduce inequalities and promote inclusion. So you can put structures in place for certain students and target it for them in particular. It doesn't highlight them, doesn't mark them as different. They get the same device, maybe their interface just looks a little different. It offers students a safe space to see, explore and interact with mathematical concepts. So we're going to look at a lot of this today. And how they can put those mathematical ideas and concepts into practice. And finally, technology integration can influence students' motivation and engagement levels. And there's actually quite a lot of research on this that, it is a good vehicle for motivation. So it may well be the same skills that you're doing with pen and paper, but simply because they're using an iPad, they're a little bit more motivated. And that certainly goes for things like our games-based learning activities. So your TT Blast and your SATS Blast, where they are consolidating knowledge that they've learned in class, but more of a games-based learning vehicle can offer that little bit of motivation and competitive vibes to it. So, just to highlight our YouTube channel, we can be found on YouTube. Just look for Just2easy TV. Okay, this and all of our training is recorded and available on YouTube, including various live lessons. So I do these every 2 weeks. We did one yesterday on firework painting activity using JIT Paint. So they are recorded and available. So the concept is with those that you play at the front of the class and you and your students learn alongside each other. Okay, so please have a look for those when you get an opportunity. Right, that's enough talking. Let's do some actual activities that you can use with the kids. So I'm going to start with JIT. I'm going to start with JIT Pictogram to sort of fulfill the statistics side of your curriculum. So JIT Pictogram can be found within JIT. So from your Launchpad, you can open up this lovely yellow tile here. Now it is 8 tools within the same toolkit. And you can see here we've got all the different tabs. Now Pictogram is our red tab. And you'll notice the surround page colour changes colour as well, which is a great classroom management tool. So you can see which child is off doing a painting instead of their pictogram. Now, Pictogram's nice because the children can use it themselves, or you can create a template and share it with your students as well. So it always opens up sort of prompting you to choose a template. So I am going to choose favourite fruit, for example. Okay, and I have that static template. So the students can open this and use this template as it is. They don't have to edit it. They just use these buttons here, these plus or minus buttons, to add content into their pictogram. And then they can click the save button, which is the top left. Now we can also edit this template. And to do that, we're going to click that edit button at the bottom here. And you can take boxes away and you can add boxes. Unfortunately, you can't remove, for example, when we didn't want apple, you can't remove that first box without removing all the ones before it, but you can change what's in here. And to do that, generally, I would just recommend that you blank that out. There we go. And then, for example, maybe we want a red apple and not a green apple. So I can click on my clip art. If you're feeling particularly artistic, you can draw it yourself, but this box is quite small for drawing into the box, so I wouldn't recommend it really. You have your My Files, you have your clip art, but we can do this Google search here. So this is a web search, and I'm going to look for an apple, hit enter. And there we go, that's a nice apple. We'll use that one. So I'm going to click on that, and then I can click into this box, or I can just hover over the top of that box. It's quite difficult for me to sort of point it out. But as I hover my mouse over the top of that column, can you see the box is red? That means I can click, and that's going to add that into that box. So when you're using a lovely big device, like mine's got a 16-inch screen, it's huge. It's really easy to do that. The smaller your device, the more tricky it is to add content into that box, which is why the children only have to hover over the top of that box. Because when they're using things like iPads and iPad minis, it can get a little bit crowded on the interface. So that's why we've done that. And then you can, let me get rid of this, click on this label at the bottom to change it. So I'm going to add another box by clicking the add button. I'm going to add in, let's look for some raspberries this time. And let's find a nice picture. There we go, that'll do. And then again, I'm going to hover over that box, click, change the label. And there we go. There is my pictogram ready to go. If I want the students to use it without all of this along the left-hand side, I just untick that edit box. And there we go. We've got our pictogram template ready to go. The children can come up to the board, or you can share this with them and they can use it in their own My Files. Once they're done, they click save. And that will save a copy into their My Files if they're logged in and using it as a resource. Lastly, what you can do, and this goes for all of the JIT tools, is you can record some audio. So this would attribute some audio. And this is really useful when we're doing things like data handling, because one aspect of the curriculum is obviously collating and collecting the data. And then the other aspect of the curriculum is analysing that data. So showing that they understand what this data shows. So I'm going to add a couple more raspberries. There we go. And I'm going to record some audio. And in fact, let's add a few more bits. There we go. So I'm going to hit the record button and then hit this. The most favourite fruit in the class was raspberry, and the least favourite fruit was a banana. So there we go. So we've got the data handling, the data collection, and also the data analysis. And then we can save that, and that's going to save into either my files if I'm doing this from my account, or the child's My Files if they're creating that from their account. So that is JIT Pictogram. So you can use existing templates, or you can create your own. You can edit templates, you can lock that template and share it with the students, save, and you can also export as an image. So I didn't show this, but in the top right, we've got this button here. So that will save that as a flat image that you can then, if you wanted to, print out and put in a maths book if you needed to. Okay, and you do have the print button there. Not that I'm endorsing that you print things off, but I know that some schools still have that requirement, frustratingly. Okay, so moving on a little bit, moving our skills on. So we've looked at pictogram, and we're going to look at chart now. So we're staying within JIT. And JIT Chart works in a very similar way. It's got a very similar interface. Allows you to use a template or create your own, same as pictogram. You can edit the template. And then we have different chart types that we can use within chart. So let's have a look. So chart is the orange tab. Again, the surround of the page changes colour, and you're prompted to choose a template. Now I'm going to choose a blank template for this activity. And we've got our table that we can populate. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rename my column, and I've just clicked in that column and I'm going to rename it. So I'm going to say I'm going to stick with my theme of favourite fruits in class, and I'm going to use that data that we used in pictogram. So I'm going to add apple, banana, what else do we have? Pear. We had orange, I think, and then, no, we didn't. We had I can't remember. Strawberry would help if I could spell. There we go. And raspberry. Okay. And then I can enter numbers into the number column. So I'm going to have 3, 2, and you can see it populates that block chart as soon as I've hit enter with those numbers. And there we go. Now the other thing I can do is I can change the column or the segment colours. So I might want a green apple, for example. I might want a yellow banana. I might have a brown pear. I might have a red strawberry and then pink raspberries. So there we go. Okay. And then I can choose to layer up my chart types. So I've got 4 chart types here along the left. And I can click and tick to select them, and they're going to showcase on that screen for me. So that's really nice for the students to be able to see the chart types side by side. They can choose 1 or 2 that really demonstrates their data in a really nice format. And they can deselect any that they don't want to showcase. Now, we did for a long time, when we came to print, the table, for whatever reason, the table would disappear. So that has been fixed recently. So now the table remains. Hurrah. It's only taken me 4 years of nagging and they've listened to me. So that is a new update. But you can switch the table on or off. So if you want it on or if you want it off, you can do that. And then the last thing to add is with the pie chart, you can make the segments pull apart, which I think is quite nice. But that gives a nice visual representation of, we can see the raspberry again, most favourite, and the banana is the least favourite. So another way of representing that data. And again, with JIT, you've got that record audio function, and you've also got the save as image function, same as Pictogram. So the interfaces are very consistent. The children soon pick up where things are. And the save button is there. Now, the other thing to point out is they do get that little saving circle, so they get a nice little bit of feedback. That was one of my bugbears, especially with early years and Key Stage 1, is if they don't get any feedback that the computer is doing something, they will just keep clicking. I mean, that's not just Key Stage 1 students, that's teachers as well. But they get that feedback that something's happening. And also your save button will sort of grey out and disappear. So they can only save one version unless they make any changes, and then they can save another copy. So that is JIT Chart. Okay. Now I have included Turtle, which is a bit of a tenuous link to the maths curriculum. But I thought it was good because of things like directional positional language, predicting outcomes. It's all got those sort of maths concepts, debugging. So it's nice cross-curricular links between maths and computing coding. So again, we're going to stay within JIT, and it is the green tab this time. Now, what's nice about Turtle is it does have some pre-made, I say templates, they're almost like little games in themselves. So I am going to showcase the Big Bad Wolf, which is the easiest one to begin with. And I have used this in early years at an exploratory level. So much like you would have your B-bots out and let them have a go and test things out and see what happens, that exploratory kind of level, I would have the same with this. And it's a nice on-screen step from that kind of off-screen physical robot to then having the on-screen version. And it works in a very similar way to a B-bot. So the Big Bad Wolf is the easiest version, and then it gets more and more complex as they go through this list. So Cinderella is the most difficult out of those templates. Now I'm going to click on the Big Bad Wolf, and JIT Turtle comes with a pre-programmed, pre-positioned sprite. So the Big Bad Wolf is our sprite, that is our character that we move. You have these 6 buttons, so forwards, backwards, right and left, great for your directional language, pen down, pen up, and it doesn't show very well, but there is actually a box, so a grid for the children to look at. So that really helps them with predicting and counting. So, as they become more familiar with clicking on the buttons and the character moves and using the directional language, that's when they can start thinking about counting boxes, thinking about how they're going to get to a certain space. So we can see that this character needs to move up 1 box, turn right, and then 1, 2, 3 boxes forwards. Okay, so we're going to do that. We're going to go forwards, right, and then 1, 2, 3, and my house will collapse. Now there is a simple mode and an advanced mode. The main difference is with the advanced mode, the sprite doesn't move. So the sprite's been moving with each press of the button at the moment. And again, that's a nice skills progression. So once they're familiar and they're working well with, moving it a step at a time, that's when you can start thinking, right, we're gonna predict where this goes. So we're gonna go 1, 2 steps forward. So 1, 2, and then he needs to move right. So we're gonna go right, and then how many boxes forwards? 1, 2. So let's see if he ends up, so we can press play and we can see if our character or our sprite ends up in the correct place, which he does. You can create bugged activities. So that's another way of, challenging your students. You could program this incorrectly. So I don't know, your sprite maybe goes off the page or he ends up over here. And we can debug any of these, so we can move these around and see how that affects the outcome. We can delete any of these, and if I press play we can see how horribly wrong he's going to go now. Oh, he's not done too badly actually. There we go. So they can manipulate these algorithms or these instructions. So it's nice links with your math and your computing or your ICT curriculum there. And again, they can record audio so they can discuss or demonstrate what they've done, how they've done it, what problems they encountered, and you have that as evidence, and then they can hit save as well. Now with all of our JIT tools and our J2 Create, there is this brand new button. So this one here, this is Publish to Journal. So if you don't know about Journal, just seen a question, unable to access on own device. Is that now? I will come back and answer that question. If you could give me a bit more information on that question, T. Murray, I will try and answer it. So if you're not familiar with Journal, Journal is our new digital, I'm trying to think how to describe it. You can create a digital portfolio for each child. You can tag pieces of work and it's like a digital display board essentially. Great for building up those portfolios of work. So, if by the end of the year you're expected to have 5 pieces of evidence for a certain level, you can do that in Journal, and the students and the teachers can select pieces of work to publish to Journal. So, for example, maybe this demonstrates a certain level within your maths curriculum. You can click Publish to Journal. You can add that to a class journal, and you can tag certain students. So if they work together as well, that's another great way of sort of tagging those students together. So that has been introduced recently. Okay, so that is JIT Turtle. So we're going to move on to our games-based learning activities now. Now we have 2 that are specific to maths. They work in a very similar way. We have TT Blast and we have SATS Blast. So there are some nuance differences. So I am going to show both of them very quickly, but they're very simple and easy to use. So TT Blast times tables. You can select times tables to practice. You can track progress of times tables and children having a go. It offers an overview of the times tables achievement across school as well. So as a maths lead, you can always gain insight into how each class, each student is doing with their times tables. Let me close down some of these tabs. Here we go. So TT Blast and SATS Blast can be found within J2 Blast, which now looks like this. We've also got Spell Blast, so if you're not aware, you can set your own spellings, but let's have a look at TT Blast. So you have the Go Live area. Now this is a noisy app, so you may want to A, invest in some headphones, or at least B, tell them all to turn their volume down. You've been warned. So the Go Live will match them against 3 other pupils around the world. So let's have a go. And turn my volume down. It will track their progress. So the more consistently they answer these questions correctly, the quicker it moves them up the levels. So they won't stay on, the 10 times tables forever. It will give them more challenging activities. So you can see there it's now including my division there. There we go. And they do get points for every time they play that. They can't communicate with any of the other children. Okay, it may give an area, so it might be Northern Ireland, it might be Scotland, it might be Wales, but that is all the information you're going to get. So they can't communicate with any of the other players, so it's very secure, and there's no communication. So that's the go live area. So you'll end up with a class leaderboard. So this is my class. You can see, I can see who's playing and how many points they've got. I've got a school leaderboard. So this is over the last 7 days, so not many of them are playing, but it will rotate to place overall times. There we go. You can see all my pupils there. And then there is a world leaderboard, and some of these schools are just phenomenal. I mean, 1 million points. I don't know how long they're playing it, but clearly they're playing it a lot. And that's placed in the last 7 days, so 29,000 points in the last 7 days. Whew. Then we have a practice area, so they can select a level to practice. So they can choose this themselves, they can challenge themselves. Starts with the easiest, you 2 times tables, 5, 10, and then it goes up. And we've got lots of options there. And again, that will give them points every time they play. And then as a teacher, you can access the data through this little graph here. I can see my whole school who are not playing this very much this year. So let's go over the last year. I can see there that EYFS aren't doing too well, unsurprisingly, so it's times tables. But let's have a look at EYFS. And we can see actually it's Mary that's not doing too well. So I can look at Mary. And that gives me an idea of what she got correct and what she got wrong on each times table. Okay, so I can see she's done really badly at her 6 times tables and her 4s and her 3s. So it's going to give me more idea of where I need to focus that support for her. Okay, so that is TT Blast. SATS Blast, we do have Key Stage 1, 2 and 3. So SATS Blast looks like this. It's slightly different in that they have a take a test as opposed to going live, and that is a preset test, and I would recommend that's really your year 2s that should be taking that, which will be your P3s in Northern Ireland and Scotland. But the have a practice area is fantastic because it includes all aspects of maths, not just your times table. So you've got your addition, your subtraction, division, number bonds. I think I don't think there's any fractions in Key Stage 1, 2 times tables. So you can see those are the levels there. And we're always open to feedback. So if you are a maths expert, which we are not, if you are and you're looking at these levels and thinking they're way off, they're too easy, too hard, we are more than open to taking teacher feedback. If you've worked with us for any length of time, you'll know that we pride ourselves on being responsive to teachers. So please feel free to give us your feedback. But they can choose a level. So for example, number bonds to 10, let's have a go. And they can either use this trackpad here, or they can use their keyboard. So great for typing skills as well. And there we go. So that is your SATS Blast. And again, they get points. You've got your class leaderboard, your school leaderboard, and the world leaderboard. Okay. So that's TT Blast and SATS Blast. Right, I'm going to talk about the measuring tools now. These are included in J2 Create. So J2 Create is probably something that I wouldn't use with the kids, with the children or the students, with them using it themselves in early years and Key Stage 1. I would certainly use it as a teacher to create resources for them to use. And there are a huge amount of J2 Create resources in the library. So this one is in the library, so Mini Beast measuring. So that is a pre-made example of this activity. I just knocked this up at 3:10 this afternoon, so I will probably add this in. I have done I just had an afternoon of inspiration, so I've done a whole lot of very hungry caterpillar resources based around maths. So we'll have a look at this. Okay, so J2 Create is brilliant because it allows you to change the page color, add text, change text size, font, add images, add shapes and lines, and the measuring tools. So this is an activity that I created. So I drew. You'll be very proud of me. Look at, it's a very good, very hungry caterpillar. I drew this in JIT Paint, would you believe? And then I saved it as a stamp and I added it into J2 Create. And I want my students to measure this. And then I've got the fruits that I want them to measure. So I'm actually going to lock these to the page, which I haven't done. So I'm going to highlight them and I'm just going to lock. So it means the students can't move any of these. And I've added the lines underneath just to make it a little bit easier for when they're measuring. So you could add any image using the pictures tool. So I might add in a plum, for example. I've already got a plum. An apple. There we go. So I might want them to measure this apple, for example. There we go. And I could lock that to the page. And I'm just going to add a line underneath so that they can find it a little bit easier. I'm going to try and keep that with the same width. And there we go. And again, I'm going to lock that to the page. And then you'll notice at the top of my page, I've got this little compass. So that is our maths measure tools that we have available. So we have 3, a ruler, a compass, and a protractor. So for Key Stage 1, really, you're going to be using your ruler, aren't you? And there we go. So that will add that in. You or the children can extend that to make it as short or as long as you want. You can also click on it and you've got the option to fill. Now, I personally prefer it to be filled because I think the children can just find it a little bit easier to measure, but really it's personal preference. And you can move that, and that's why I added that line, just to make it a little bit easier for the students to measure, so they can move that and they can see that that's 8 centimeters, and they can click anywhere on that page and write 8 centimeters, and then they can move that and move it over here. So it's a great way of, incorporating those skills. So that's 2 centimeters. And one of the nice things about J2 Create is that they're not sort of constrained. They don't have to click in a box to add something. They can just click anywhere. They could click on the actual object itself. You could add in an object and lock it to the page. So you could add in a square and they could click and write in it. And then when they're done, they click that save button at the top and that will save that content. So that is how you can use the measuring tools in J2 Create. Okay, and as I said, these ones are preset, pre-made in the library, so you can set and share those at will. Now, I did include this. I'm not sure if I've got. I think I'm going to skip this. I have shown this in previous, and in fact, there is a video on YouTube about how to do this, but you can add in your own maths worksheets or resources into J2 PDF and it makes them fully interactive. So there is a video on YouTube on how to do that. And what I want to do is I want to spend a bit of time on the library resources because there's a lot of the early years ones which I promised earlier for you. So let's have a look, shall we? So I started really, really easy with tracing numbers. So, getting the kids having this up or maybe on an iPad, using some styluses is a really nice way of developing their sort of pincer grip. Buy them off Temu. I think they're about £1 each for styluses. I think I had a class set of 30. Inevitably, about 20 of them went missing within about 2 weeks. But it's a great way of, get the kids to hold a pen and use it on the iPads if you have got touchscreen devices. So these are in the library. We've got all the numbers. So if you don't know about the library, it's pre-made content. It's all teacher-made content. I think we're up to 2,300 resources now. So it's a whole wealth of activities. And if you find a resource that you like and you want your students to have a go, you have to share it or set it as homework. Okay, so when I click share, I can then share with my class. So I'm just going to share class 1. There we go. And I could share with class 2 as well. And they will only have access to content that's been shared with them. Now, normally I do this prior to a webinar. I'm slacking today. So Lottie is in my class 1. So once I've shared a resource, she can go to the library. And there is that particular resource. So you can see here, she's got some instructions. She clicks on this. This is made in JIT Paint. So she just chooses a pen colour and then she can trace over the top. Now with a mouse, that's pretty tricky, but with an iPad, that would be a fantastic way of developing, you know, the writing of numbers. So that was one example. So tracing numbers. Here we go. We've got some of my activities I was making this afternoon. We've got counting activities. So this one is a fab resource. So they have to pull the number of objects onto the page. So they have to count. So three blankets, 3 towels, 4 umbrellas, 2 people. You get the idea. They have to colour in the number, or no, they have to drag the number onto the group. And then this one, I made this afternoon. They have to drag the number. So on Monday he ate, and then they drag the right number. On Tuesday he ate, so he has to look for number 2. And this is actually a 2-page activity. And then they have to count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So then they have to say that it was 10 pieces of food. So there's lots of counting activities as well. Let's close some of these tabs down because it's getting confusing. So there's counting activities, show me numbers. So Mary's made quite a few of these. So show me 7 pigs. So you have to, let's go to view. They have to drag 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and then to save these J2 Create activities, they go to edit and then click that save button. So there's variations of that. 8 chickens, 5 cows. You get the idea. Shapes and space. So we've got pulling shapes into certain groups. So they have to group them. And the same with this activity. This activity we added in recently, and I haven't linked it. How irritating. So I'm going to look for shape. And it will rate it according to most liked, but you can look at the updated ones. Here we go. And here's my draggable shape picture. So you could have this up on your panel, your interactive whiteboard, and then the children can make their own picture. So whatever they want to make. So we could have a little person there, for example, or a house or a car, or so they can make pictures, and they can, if they go wrong, they can drag it onto this bin and that will get rid of it. So that is there now, draggable shape picture. What else have we got? Making groups. So again, make 6. There's variations of this, so they can click on this. And they have to make groups and make 6. So they have to add 3 more. They have to add 5 more. You get the idea. So there's that one. And that is the making 10 version. Repeating patterns. Obviously, it's quite a keen thing in early years. We have some seasonal ones. We've got some Christmas ones. Halloween, I know we've missed it, but you could still use it. And Mary's just added this one, so your woodland animals. And again, it's exactly the same as that resource that we've just looked at. It's a draggable activity, so they have to look for the pattern and drag that particular item. And there we go. Ordering numbers, so we've got some they have to switch which one is the smallest to the largest. I've just done this sequencing and this sequencing and ordering this number. So this one's quite a nice one. So they have to sequence it. So 4, 5, 6, so 2, 3, and they have to drag number 4, 7, 8. So they drag the 8. You get the idea. So that is there should you need it. And there's also this one where they have to drag the segments into the correct order. Addition, so more of our key stage 1 activities. So we've got addition, so domino addition. We've got paint by numbers, but they have to do addition as part of that. And column addition. So if you are moving towards column addition, that there are lots of column additions actually. This is 1 and 2 digit numbers, some carrying. But if I search in the community and look for addition, there you go. So you can see there's the Easter egg addition. I'm going to try, I was looking for images earlier to create variations of that. So I'll be looking for that this week. Addition with 10 number line jumps. Okay, so there's lots and lots of addition activities. So here we go. And you can jump the frog. That's a really cute activity actually. So place the frog on the line and then you can add in your numbers like this. So that would be 4. So there we go. Subtraction. We have more subtraction activities as well. So we've got Halloween activities. So -1, -2, subtracting numbers from groups, and domino subtraction. Tens and units. So again, these are interactive activities. So the students can drag the tens and units up to make certain groups, and this is a multi-page document, so they work through the activities to create these numbers up here, and that is the same for this one. Number bonds. So we have various number bond activities, including Christmas ones. This rocket one is a really nice one where they have to connect the 2 halves of the rocket so that it adds up to 10. So there we go. Oh, that's a little bit, there we go. You get the idea. And there's a dinosaur one. There are ladybirds and Christmas version. Geometry. So your properties, your shape properties, there's various activities for that. So 3D and 2D activities. And you can find those, just look for shape and that will bring up a lot of those activities. Fraction resources. So we were deliberating earlier between us and the team about when fractions get taught. I know in the UK, in England, certainly it's a sort of year 1, but I know in Northern Ireland it's more your sort of P3s, but these are available. So the children, they're created in paint. So the children use colour to fill, and they can fill in 1/3, 1/4, 2/6. You get the idea. And then they can save that as an image. Okay, so that is there, and that is another variation. Telling the time. So there is a digital version and an analog version, and also days of the week. So ordering those days of the week should you need to, and that is a draggable resource. And then money, using exact change and giving change. So becoming more and more familiar with money and coins. And then lastly, we've got these activities that I couldn't fit in anywhere else. I wasn't sure what they sort of came under. So we've got some symbol sums. So, you know, if you want to inject a little bit of fun into your maths curriculum, and comparing numbers. So greater than, less than, and equals to. And again, these are draggable symbols. So I'm almost on time for once. This is really good for me. So we are on social media. So we're on Facebook and X, formerly known as Twitter. So just look for Just2easy. We've also got a brand new Facebook group, which is Just2easy Teachers, and it's a space for sharing plans, resources, lesson ideas, and asking questions as well from other teachers. So we've got, I think, 600 teachers in there now. It's a nice little community that we're building, and a great place and space for sharing ideas. So please give us a look. It's Just2easy Teachers. It's a group. If you have any issues, you can email us at edteam@j2e.com. And then this is our Just2easy YouTube site. I was going to say Facebook, YouTube site. So Just2easy TV. Give us a subscribe. This webinar will be in this webinars playlist here, and there are those live lesson recordings. And then lastly, we've got these tips and tricks here. So their little 2-minute videos can really help you get to grips with using the site. So that is the end of everything that I planned to do. Please, if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat and I will do my best to answer them. If not, thank you ever so much for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed it and I hope to see you for another webinar soon. Good night.